In a classroom where chaos reigns, a new teacher steps in. Young, charming, and underestimated. But when bullies push her to the edge, they unleash a storm they never saw coming. In just one minute, they're begging for mercy. Want to know how she turned the tables? Subscribe for epic stories that flip its script on power and payback. The first day of school at Westbridge High was always a circus. But for Mia Harper, it was more like stepping into Alien's den with a smile. At 25, she was youngest teacher ever hired at Disrow around the edges public school, known for its graffiti stirs and students who treated authority like a punching bag. Mia, with her warm hazel eyes, cascade of chestnut hair, and a wardrobe that screamed unapproachable but professional, walked into room 204 with a quiet confidence that made the students pause for a bit seconds. The classroom was a mix of chipped desks, flickering fluorescent lights, and 32 teenagers sizing her up like wolves circling prey. She set her leather satchel on the desk, her smile unwavering, and wrote her name on the board. Ms. Harper. The whispers started immediately. She looks like she just graduated. One kid muttered, "Bad checkeries by lunch." Another snickered. Back, a group of seniors led by Troy Baxter, broad-shouldered kid with a permanent sneer and a rap sheet of detentions, exchanged smirks. Troy leaned back, arms crossed, already plotting how to make this new teacher's day a living hell. Mia, oblivious to their scheming, began her lesson on To Kill a Mockingbird. Her voice brightened, engaging, as if she believed ever a kid in the room was hanging on her every word. She didn't notice the paper airplane that sailed past her head, or stifled laughs when it landed in her neatly organized stack of handouts. Troy Baxter was the undisputed king of room 204. He'd been at Westbridge since freshman year, and by senior year, he'd perfected the art of disruption. Tall with a buzz cut and a leather jacket, who were like armor, he commanded loyalty from his crew. Jake, a wiry kid with a quick laugh and a knack for crew drawings. Kayla, whose sharp tongue could cut through steel. And Marcus, a giant, who followed Troy's lead without question. They'd driven out 2 substitute teachers last semester. One quit after a week, the other after a particularly creative prank involving a whoopee, cushion, and superglue. Troy saw Mia as no different. Kayla, young, inexperienced, and way too pretty to be taken seriously. She's going to fold like a cheap lawn chair, he whispered to Jake, who snorted and started doodling a caricature of Mia with exaggerated features. Kala, flipping her dyed purple hair, added, "Let's see how long she lasts before she's running to the principal." Marcus just nodded, his eyes fixed on Mia as she talked about Scout Finchcourt. The plan was simple. Start smell, test her limits, and escalate until she broke. Troy flicked a crumpled paper ball at the board, missing Mia shed by inches. She didn't flinch, just kept talking about Atticus Finch's moral backbone. The class murmured, impressed her, annoyed. It was hard to tell. Troy wasn't deterred. He leaned over to Jack and whispered, "Next one's going to hither." Mia wasn't blind. She'd grown up in a neighborhood not unlike Westbridge's, where survival meant read in the room before someone read you. She'd seen Troy's type before, cocky, desperate to prove something, hiding insecurity behind bravado. She'd clocked his crew the moment she walked in. Jake's fidgety energy, Kayla's arrows, Marcus' silent loyalty. She knew they were testing her, and she was ready. Not because she'd studied classroom management in her teaching program, though she had acing every course, but because Mia Harper had a past that Westbridge High couldn't begin to guess at. She'd been a foster kid, bouncing between homes, learning to navigate tempers and power plays by thing time. She was 10. She talked her way out of fights, charmed her way into second chances, and once at 16 stared down a gang leader who thought he cowed to intimidate her into giving up her bus fare. That fire still burned in her, hidden beneath her soft cardigans and warm smiles. So when the second paper ball grazed her shoulder, she shrieked the way Troy expected. She didn't chill or blush or stammer. Instead, she paused mid-sentence, picked up the paper, and unfolded it with the count precision of a surgeon. Inside was a crude note. "Nice skirt. Teach one at detention." The class held its breath, waiting for tears or a scolding. Mia just smiled, a glint in her eyes that Troy didn't catch. "Creative," she said, holding up the note. "But if you're going to throw shade, at least spell detention right." The class erupted in laughter, and Troy's smirk faltered. The rest of that period was a chess game. Troy's crew upped Auntie. Jake accidentally dropped his textbook with a deafening thud. Cal asked a deliberately dumb question about whether Scout was a boy or a girl. Marcus coughed loudly every time Maya turned to the board. Mia didn't miss a beat. She answered Cal's question with a detailed breakdown of Scout's character, turning it into a minor lecture on gender roles in literature that left Kayla speechless. When Jake's book hit the floor, she walked over, picked it up, and handed it back with a look that said, "I see you." Marcus cowling fits. She offered him a bottle of water from her bag, a tone so kin to mocking. The other students, sensing something new, started paying attention. Mia's lesson wasn't just about a book, it was a performance. She moved through the room like she owned it, her voice steady, her eyes catching every flicker of defiance. By the bell, Troy was seething. She hadn't cracked. It's worse, she'd made him look small, without trace in her voice. As the class filed out, he muttered to his crew, "Tomorrow, go harder." Day 2 was when things escalated. Troy had spent the night texting his crew, planning a prank that would cement his legend. The idea was simple, but brutal. A rigged water bottle that would drench when she opened it, paired with a fake love letter slipped onto her desk to humiliate her further. Jake had crafted the letter, full of over-the-top flattery and a fake signature. "From your secret admirer, Troy." Kayla added a touch of glitter to the envelope for maximum embarrassment. Marcus, ever the muscle, was tasked with swapping my water bottle with the rigged one during the morning chows. By the time Mia walked into room 204, the trap was set. She wore a navy blazer and a cream blouse, her hair pulled back in a low bun, looking every bit the professional, despite the faint circles under her eyes from grading perslate. The class was quieter today, sensing the tension. Troy leaned back, smirking as Mia set her bag down and reached for the water bottle. The room went silent. She twisted the cap and water exploded upwards, soaking her blouse and dripping onto the floor. Deck Lass gasped, then laughed, a nervous edge to it. Troy's crew high-fived under desks. Mia stood there, drenched, her face unreadable. Then she did something no one expected. She laughed, not a nervous giggle, but a full, rich laugh that filled the room. "Well," she said, wiping water from her chin, "I guess Mion's feeling creative ed." The laughter died down, replaced it by confusion. Mia didn't scream or run out. Instead, she grabbed a stack of paper towels from a cabinet. How did she even know they were there? Started blotting her blouse. "Let's talk about creativity," she said, her voice calm but carrying an edge. "Because whoever did this put in some effort, planning, execution, teamwork. It's potential. Misguided, but potential." She tossed the soap towels into the trash and picked up the glittery envelope from her desk. Troy's stomach dropped. She opened it, read the fake love letter aloud, her tone dripping with amusement. "Your beauty lights up the room, Miss Harper. Wow, poetic. But the handwriting looks familiar." She held up the letter, her eyes locking onto Jake's. He froze. "Jake, your doodles have the same sloppy loops. Care to explain?" Jake stammered, his face red. But before he could swear, Mia turned to the class. Harassed thing about pranks, she said. They're only funny if you're smarter than your target. And I'm not sure you were. That's when Troy made his mistake. He couldn't let her win. Not in front of his crew. Not in front of the class. Stood up, towering over his desk, and sneered. You think you're tough, new girl? You're just a substitute with a degree. Sit down and teach your stupid book. The room went dead silent. Venice crew looked uneasy. Mia didn't flinch. She walked toward Troy, her heels clicking on the linoleum until she was standing right in front of him. She was a foot shorter, but the way she held herself made him feel small. Troy Baxter, she said, her voice low and steady. I know your type. You think you're in this place because you're loud and people are scared. But you're not scary. You're predictable. She leaned in just enough to make him flinch. And I'm not your substitute. I'm your teacher. So let's make a deal. You can keep trying to push, or you can sit down and learn some mathing. Your choice. But choose fast because I'm done playing. The class was frozen, eyes darting between Troy and Mia. Troy's jaw clenched, his fists bowed at his sides. He wanted to push back, to say something cutting, but her eyes, those sharp, unflinching, hazel eyes, pinned him in place. He'd never been called out like that. Not by a teacher, not by anyone. And then Mia did something that broke him. She turned away, dismissing him like he was nothing, and picked up her copia to kill a mockingbird. Page 47. She said to that class, let's talk a book, Corge. Troy sat down, his face burning, his crew silent. Kayla whispered, what just happened? Jake stared at his desk, avoiding Mia's gaze. Marcus shifted uncomfortably, his loyalty wavering. Hey, Brink had backfired, and Mia had traced her voice or sent anyone to step and simple. She'd won without breaking a sweat. The next 60 seconds were a blur. Troy, still reeling, tried to solve